I'm really happy to introduce you my friend Jenny today. And I asked Jenny to share her experience with overtraining, um, getting really exhausted, and how she got out of this thing and how she's feeling so much better right now. So Jenny, how about you get started and tell us who you are and what you do right now, and then we get to your past.
Sure. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. I'm really excited. I am Jenny DeMarco. I have my company is Train for Life, and I teach people how to make a lifestyle out of listening to their bodies. So training for their bodies, eating for their bodies, and I term it, I pose it like that because I feel like we're each individuals. Our bodies are not all the same, and I feel like we all need to find out what works best for us. I do think we all should move our body. I think we all should pay attention to what we feed it, but I do think that it's really important to help people figure out what works best for them. So I do that, and then I also help. I do on the side, I train aspiring police officers for their line of work. So it's
That's really interesting what to do. So you have, as I understand it, you help people find their balance, right, between eating and training and life in general. But I know that things were not very balanced for you always. So why don't you tell us a little bit about several years ago when you were training really, really hard and why you did it, what happened, all those kind of things.
Oh man, I feel like you just put it super nicely because I had no balance. So, looking back, I think that I kind of had the perfect storm in order to come into some of the imbalances that I had. My mom kind of had an issue with food and emotional eating, and my dad has kind of an issue with control in food, and they were like opposite ends of the spectrum. So I kind of watched that growing up, and then I played collegiate basketball. I was an athlete all my life, and I really had to worry about what I put in my body until I stopped playing, and then I had nobody telling me what to do, which is essentially what happens when you play a college sport. Is they're like, you're going to have class here, you're going to eat here, you're going to exercise here, you're going to practice here, and everything is laid out. And when I didn't have that anymore, it was like I'd fallen off a cliff. I was like, well, what? I don't know. Somebody is supposed to be telling me what to eat, or, when to study, how to regulate myself. Like, what do you mean? No one's in charge of me? I'm in charge of me? Who did that?
That's scary, right? I'm in charge of myself.
Right. And so I was like, it was like I had been coached all my life. And even though I'm a I'm a very independent person, and I'm my own person, and I've always had a strong personality. However, I didn't realize how much I had fallen into the structural part of, growing up in playing high level athletics. So that being said, once I got out of college, I had a career. I was working a ton. I went through a period of, drinking and eating my face off, because I didn't do that before. And then I finally settled down, and I was traveling with this job about 2 weeks out of every month. And it was like, right at this time, or right before this time, my mom had passed away, and I had decided to train for a figure competition, right? Because it was like I had no control in my life, and it was like that was a way to give myself control. And so, long story short, I ended up packing we would go away for a week at a time, and then we come home, and then we go away for a week at a time. And so I would end up cooking, prepping, packing all my food for the entire week. And we were talking tilapia and chicken and eggs, like in my suitcase. My suitcase had more food in it than it did clothing. It's not even a joke. It sounds so gross. I had so many leaks, because I was that focused on, and I never missed a workout. And we had long days, like 12, 14-hour days. And we were driving in the cars for hours across the country. And, but I was so set on like following this meal plan and working out 2 hours a day and getting all my workout in. and what ends up happening, and I see this happening with a lot of people who need a plan to follow, is you just completely forget about what your body needs. You don't listen to your body at all. You do not turn inwards for any answers. What you end up doing is you end up turning outwards. You're always looking, seeking, tell me what to do. Tell me how to make this better. Tell me what the best thing is. Doctor, tell me, trainer, tell me, somebody help me. And so what ends up happening, and what happened to me, was I was just like, I was constantly focused on these outside aspects. And I just totally, my marriage was suffering because I was traveling and I was focused on eating, right. And then I would follow this meal plan until I came home, but I was so exhausted and I would binge my face off on carbs. And it wasn't for lack of willpower, it's because my body was like, feed me, please. Like, I'm exhausted. Somebody help me. So that was kind of the trajectory that it took. And I did that from like 2009 to 2013, I think, is when I ended up quitting my job, early 2013. And my husband was the one that was like, listen, something's got to give here. Like, this is not and I was in pain all the time, and I couldn't recover from my workouts. I was exhausted. I was hormonally so out of balance. Like, I was so emotional. There was such high highs and low lows, and I was iron deficient, and I didn't know what my body needed, and then I remember I competed in the figure competition, and nobody helped me afterwards. And so then, what ends up happening a lot is when you're on these strict meal plans and you stop competing and nobody helps you reverse diet out of that, your body can't get enough food, for whatever reason. And I just put on 20 pounds within 2 weeks. And then it got worse. I started trying to make up for that. And it was,
I mean, this is really a normal reaction from your body, right? When you think about it. And I've worked with girls too who have either hypothalamic amenorrhea like I did, or they're just recovering from really severe overtraining. And then at first, when they give themselves this permission that, okay, I can start eating now, then just can't stop because it's impossible. And then they're so worried and they think that, oh my God, this is going to last forever. But I always tell them that, no, it's not going to last forever. It's only going to last until your body feels that it's safe now and it's fine and it has had enough food, because you've been starving it for a really, really long time. So in that way, there's nothing really surprising, right? That the body just can't stop, and it has zero to do with willpower, nothing.
Zero. And so I became, fast forward a few years, and this has all led me to becoming an intuitive eating counselor. And within that course, they talk a lot about that, which I found fascinating, because first of all, we attribute it to a character flaw. We can't stay on these diets. What's wrong with me? She's fit and she's obviously fit, and these pictures, she's beautiful and she's got this perfect body, right? We're constantly comparing. First of all, who knows what's going on behind the camera? They're probably crying in their oats right before the picture, And then second of all, it is not a character flaw. Your body is talking to you. And that's what I learned, is all of these signals. If I just listened instead of trying to have willpower and not give in to what it was asking for, maybe it needs, I'm not saying okay, our body doesn't know a bowl of cereal from a bowl of grits, right? It just knows that there's carbs in both, or it gravitates towards those things because there's carbs in them, or whatever it is that you need. So I'm just using this as an example. If you suddenly have a really big craving for a bowl of cereal, eat the cereal. So often what we do is we eat around it and then we end up eating the thing because our body's no, really, I wasn't kidding. I really just want this. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's if you just, what I learned is if you just feed it what it needs, everything will be okay. It's when we feel the guilt as we're eating it. It's oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah. So what would you tell to someone who has been wanting to start the whole like balanced eating stuff and like listening to your body, and actually, you know, is ready to let go of these food fears and things. So, but this person is still afraid that, okay, what if I am going to gain like 10 or 20 pounds? And what if I cannot stop eating all the stuff that I actually want to eat? So how do you find that balance? Do you have any practical tips how to do that?
So, a couple, and it is very scary when you give up this false control that we think we have, which really we don't, because we end up like binging or having a poor relationship with ourselves or food. It's just false. We think it feels good in that moment. So when you start to loosen the reins a little bit and you start to kind of loosen your grip, it is frightening because of all of these messages that we're inundated with. This is bad. You shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't eat this. This is a good list, So a couple of things I would say are, number one, eat the food. So
the food that you want.
Eat the food that you want, and
okay.
Eat as much as you need, because oftentimes when you give yourself full, unjudgmental permission to eat the thing, you find out you don't even really want it. Or you end up eating it and then you realize like halfway through it, you're like, this doesn't even taste as good, because the thing that keeps it tasting good, keeps it exciting, is the diet part of it. Right? The part of it that keeps it off limits, or like only when you get treats or only when you get cheat meals, like that's what keeps it tasting good and keeps it exciting for you. Yeah. So like I always tell clients, like, if you want a food and your body is saying like, I want peanut butter, all of the peanut butter, so what you do is you sit down, you don't do it in front of the TV, you don't do it with a book in hand or with, 10 people in the room. Like, you sit down and you have a mindful experience with the peanut butter, because that's the other thing is, first eat the food, but the second thing is eat it mindfully. So like, ask yourself questions while you're eating it. What does this taste like? What is the texture like? Do I really like this? Is it filling me up? How does my body feel while I'm eating it? Because when you actually have an experience with the food, that is going to allow you to decide whether or not you really want it. I think it's all this guilt that's associated with food and all these distractions, and you're not even experiencing it. And if we really love something, then we should want to experience it. We should savor it, right? So those two things I think are the most important. Eat the food and be mindful while you're doing so.
Right. Yeah. And then you may actually find that, there's nothing as exciting about it.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely, and it's better to have something that you really like a little bit of it every day. Like, I don't know, a couple of pieces of chocolate, 2-3 pieces of chocolate, instead of like never having it. And then you will have all the chocolate in the weekend. And then it's not going to be like 1 bar or 2 bars. I remember when I was binge eating a lot, it meant like several big bars of chocolate, right? Because I never allowed myself to have it during the week or when I was. Who
knew when you were going to have it again? Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like way more balanced, sometimes have a piece after every meal. And that still is 3 pieces per day instead of like having like hundreds.
Yeah. Like a whole bag of chocolate.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's just it though. It's like last supper eating, right? Like when you don't know when you're going to let yourself have it again, then it creates this, oh, well, I've got to fill up on it now, before I am not allowed to have it again, till the next binge or till the next. But like, it was scary when I let go. I'm not going to lie. But I feel like you get to a point where you're just so tired of the way things are that there's really no other choice than to explore a different avenue. And I think people just have to get to that point. So like, we can tell them and you can, try to experience this, but if you don't give yourself unconditional permission to eat and you're judging yourself while you're eating something, it's just going to lead back into the diet, cycle.
Yeah, that's true. So tell us also, you mentioned briefly that when you were still working out a lot, that you were really messed up hormonally. What did you mean by that? And what kind of symptoms did you get?
Oh my gosh. I think I sent you a list before this. I should have pulled it up when we were
Well,
talking.
the top of your head, what
Yeah. So,
because
oh my,
I remember it, I'm pretty sure it was pretty bad.
it
It was
was so,
really
yeah. So, okay. So just to start, my emotional capacity to handle life was like this big. I mean, it was like the smallest thing it would just send me on a roller coaster, right? And my sleep was way off. Like I remember towards the end when I finally was like, I just can't sustain this anymore. I could not get enough sleep. It
Mhm.
was just, it was like even if I slept a 14 hour, it was like I could go to bed within an hour. It was
Really?
that, yeah, it was incredible. Like, so there was that. The overwhelmed feeling all the time. I was constantly, it caused anxiety and depression. I was very like moody, because I had my emotional capacity I wasn't able to handle things very well. It was just the fatigue though. Oh, the fatigue was so bad. And,
Mhm.
and, um, and that impacted everything. And then on top of that, like, because hormonally I was so off and I was in the diet restrict and binge, that threw my food off even more. And
Mhm.
my body just constantly was craving carbs constantly. It was like I just couldn't get enough because it was false energy because I was so tired all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's super common, right? If you don't sleep well, that's all what you want. Sweet,
Hmm.
sugary, carby things, right?
Oh my gosh, rice cakes and I mean, just oh god, I remember one Thanksgiving. I just ate till I was sick. I mean, I used to just eat till I was sick because I didn't even know my body's signals or what it needed anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so what was your diet like? Did you restrict carbs? Because that seems to be the thing, nobody wants to eat carbs because they make you fat. Is that what you did too?
So I was working with a coach at this time. So I was on like a uh, bodybuilding meal plan. So it was like egg whites and cream of rice in the morning, and then a couple hours later it was like a couple of rice cakes with some peanut butter, and then a couple hours later it was like a protein shake and a carb before my workout, and then a couple hours later, it was like one of those. And
You
I'm
ate
just
like 10 times a day, right?
yeah, I eat so much, right? I eat so often. So I was like, why am I hungry? But it was because like my life was out of balance, and because I wasn't getting enough sleep, I was averaging when I was working. I mean, of course, working out was so important to me. So I was averaging 4 to 6 hours a night, if that,
Yeah.
and I didn't ever lose my period, but I was way out of whack. So
Hmm.
like I'd spot at certain times and I would have really heavy long ones, and it
Hmm.
just wasn't an average. I'd get it a couple times a month and it was like all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't happen for all women for sure, like who overtrain, but it happens to some. So other people have different signs. But I mean, you had plenty of other signs that, show that something's
Yeah.
really, really wrong.
Yes, something definitely was not right.
So wasn't it 2013 when you stopped doing the bodybuilding type of workouts and quit your job and things got a little bit easier? And how did they change?
So it was 2000, I think it was like, gosh, I want to say February, March of 2013. And it took months for me to feel any sort of like I did not feel normal at all. I mean, for a while. And I finally started like having more fun with my workouts. So I love dynamic workouts. I mean, I love any type of body movement. Obviously, like I just have to move my body just for my mind. But, um, I started incorporating things I like we were talking about, like flipping tires or chains or like dragging tires or sandbags or monkey bar, like those types of really fun workouts. I started, I still did bodybuilding type workouts, but the problem was on those, like prior to when I stopped, when I quit my job, it was cardio. So it was at least a half hour to 40 minutes of cardio, like hard cardio intervals and all sorts of crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was an hour, hour and a half of lifting after that. And it was just too much, you know? And so what I ended up starting to do is like not having to lift and do cardio on the same day, which was scary at first. Cause again, that's like releasing your grip, right? I'm so used to this. And what happens if I train less? Like, am I going to put on 50 pounds because I'm not working out 2.5 hours a day and I'm starting to eat what I like, introduce things to my diet that were formerly off limits. So, so when I started to let go, I just started to slowly listen to what I wanted to do. So I would still lift because I love lifting, but I maybe wouldn't lift and do cardio on the same day. And then the next day I would do an outdoor workout or something fun that I enjoyed, you know, or I'd do an interval workout mixed with some sort of fun body weight, you know, exercises.
Right. And it was at the same time when you started kind of diet wise also letting things go. And so what happened as a result? Was it scary? Was it like, you know, a lot of women are so scared to lose this control and all the terrible things that happen when they don't count their calories anymore. So what happened?
I remember writing my coach at that time because I kind of phased out of training with him eventually after this too. And I remember one of my last emails to him was like, it was like second to last, third to last. And I was like, I'm actually feeling a little bit normal more often. I'm having more good days than bad days. And I'm having more fun training and like things don't hurt as much. I remember I had such awful shin splints. My lower back would hurt, like my wrists would hurt. You know, it was like all my joints, my elbows. So my pain was less. It was like, oh my gosh, training less is actually better for me. That's what happened. It was like as I'm releasing the grip, it was like, wow, this whole new world opened up where things don't have to be so hard. You know, I feel like sometimes we think things have to be super difficult in order for us to reap the benefits.
Yeah.
And they don't. Like you can just enjoy eating and training and actually have the body that you love. You know, like, you know, and that was the other thing is accepting my body, no matter how it looked, or that was another thing. I just started working on it all at once because I was so miserable with where I was before. There just wasn't another option. And at first it was super scary, but as I loosened up, it felt so good. And so it almost feels like it's wrong at first, but you just have to keep telling yourself like, no, this is actually healthy. Like my body's supposed to feel good. I'm supposed to like working out. I'm supposed to enjoy what I eat, you know?
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people see working out as a punishment, you know, a punishment to make up for eating food or something other, you know, really ridiculous, right? Or, you know, they get on the treadmill and they look at this little red number there, how many calories they have burned. And they're like, okay, that was good. I just burned off my cookie. Now things are good again. So this is just, this is too much for most of us, and it's not a healthy way to think about exercise and food, because they both should be fun things to do. You should be enjoying them, not using them, you know, to punish yourself, right?
Right, because it's not sustainable.
Yeah,
I mean that's the biggest thing, and this is why my company is named Train for Life, because the goal is to have sustainable habits for life. And if something is so extreme and you're not enjoying it, then it's the likelihood of you doing it for a long period of time is 0 to none.
right.
It's just not going to happen. A, because your body gives out, or B, because your mind gives out, or C, because you know, both life just can't, you know, life happens. And so if you don't allow yourself like to enjoy it, then what's the point of doing it, you know?
Yeah. So why don't you tell us how, you know, a typical day in your life looks right now? Looks like, you know, eating and working out, and what's your moderate or what's your balanced way of eating and exercising?
I love this question because it changed. I was actually thinking about this before our call, and it changes all the time. And I love that because I used to be so uncomfortable. Like when I went off the meal plan, I was like, holy crap, I have no idea what to eat. I didn't know how to shop. I didn't know how to, without somebody telling me. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it was like that. So now a typical day is, I love eggs. I still do. That's like, I don't love fish. I like chicken, but not egg. I mean, I love eggs.
You had enough of tilapia.
I had a
4 years.
I mean, once you have suitcase packed tilapia, it's just gross.
I can see that. Yeah.
Nobody should ever experience that. So like I'll get up and I'll have like eggs with some turkey bacon, and if I want a piece of chocolate after that, I'll have a piece of dark chocolate that I love. I'm very into like listening, like actually that was the other thing. Sorry, I'm interrupting myself to go back to one of the previous questions, like what was it like releasing? So one thing I did when I started releasing, which I thought was awesome, and I always recommend people do this, is like, what's the one food you just absolutely love? Like for me, it was chocolate and peanut butter and like that mixture. Mm-hmm. So what I used to do is I would get up and I'd eat that first. I'd have like oats with like chocolate and peanut butter mixed in, and it was like I am okay after this. Like I can have a bowl of this, and it was so tasty, and I loved every second of it. And I just ate it first. And then it was funny. It was like, after I let myself have that for a certain amount of time, I haven't had it since, but it was like take that thing that you love and try to work it into like your breakfast or early in the meal, not because of calories and burning them and all of that, but just because like, it's like shifts your mindset right off the bat. Like, because a lot of times you'll give yourself the thing that you like, and then you'll end up binging afterwards because it's like, well, that went to crap, like now my day is over. But it's like you teach yourself like to shift out of that, because you're giving yourself what you want, and you will live, and you can burn it off, and you know what, like maybe you'll have it later, but maybe you don't even crave it later because you've already given yourself, you don't get to 7 p.m. and suddenly want a bowl of chocolate with peanut butter in it because you've already had it in the morning. So, sorry, that was a total.
No. That's a really good advice.
Or tangent. So, okay, a typical day for me, I'll get up, I will have like eggs and turkey bacon, or sometimes we have pancakes, and I'm like even though I'm not on a meal plan, I do like consistency, or like I'll go through phases where like I'll eat a certain thing for a while and then I'll trade off to something else. And then I'll have, yogurt with berries, which I never ate fruit before because, it got this bad rap, and then
sugar and carbs. And
I mean, yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like, before my workout, I like carbs before my workout because it makes me feel good. That's, and that's what I've learned for me that works. So like today I had cereal with milk and protein powder, and it was like, I forget, like Cascade Farms, like Lucky, or the Golden Grams. I love them. They're so good. Anyways, I had a bowl of cereal and some protein powder mixed in, and then afterwards I'll have like, I eat like whatever I'm craving at the time. I'll eat. Like I had like a couple pieces of toast with smoked salmon on it, and some Laughing Cow cheese. And if I'm still hungry after that, I'll wait a second. I'll drink some water, and then I'll see what else I want. My workouts now are anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour. Generally, they don't last longer than that. I don't have time. I have a daughter now, and life has changed tremendously. She refuses to nap. So, yeah, it's high intent. Like I'll do high intensity workouts. Maybe like once, sometimes twice a week, I'll do cardio and weights on the same day. Generally that's because I've missed 2 days in a row or something, and I just want to get it all in, and then that way I can pick up my schedule. But like generally I do not do cardio and weights on the same day, just because it takes too long and it's energetically exerting. You can't do your best at both when they're on the same day.
Right. So you're eating more and you're working out less, and you're feeling like a million times better.
Fantastic. I mean, like a million times. And I'm sleeping more. I listen to my body. If I'm tired, I go to sleep.
And I think you also mentioned before we got on that, or in one of our emails that you have found that it's easier to put on muscle mass actually now than it was before.
Oh my gosh. I worked so hard when I was overtraining. Like you would look at if you looked at the pictures, you'd be like, she doesn't look like she's lifting. I lifted so much and I was strong, but like I could not put on muscle mass for my life, like at all. And it's funny because having Rayla, having my daughter, and just being forced to shorten my workouts and being forced to be efficient and being forced to train a different way I've put on so much more muscle. Like, I mean, I can remember working on my shoulders when I was overtraining, just working and working and working. And I was like, why aren't they growing? Why aren't they growing? And now like, I may work on maybe like twice a week, you know? I mean, like I work it in with my workouts and
yeah.
It's just so much easier. My hormones are so
Right.
much more in balance. Life is so much more fun when you're not pushing yourself like, you know, ridiculously hard every
Yeah.
single day. You're enjoying what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Do you still have some signs sometimes that you know that, okay, I might be pushing myself too far? And do you get any
Yes.
feedback from your body that tells you that, okay, it's time to stop for a little bit?
Oh yes. So, it's funny. I didn't know these were signs. I had no idea before, but I get signs where like the fatigue, like it's like a hangover kind of like the next day I'll just be super tired and you know it's like I pushed myself too hard or I didn't eat enough the day before. Another big one is my hunger. That's a huge sign. Like if I have kind of overdone it with my workouts for a week or a couple days, I can tell because I just can't consume enough, you know, and then once I have, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
So
it's just,
you can't stop. You're super hungry. That's what you're saying?
yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, now I will stop. Like I'll like now I can know the sign, but prior to this, I didn't know what it was, and I couldn't understand why I was just so hungry. But then, when you look at like a lot of times, if you're doing a lot of cardio or if you're doing high intensity training, and then plus you're lifting, your body is like, feed me, feed me, feed me. You know,
Yeah.
it will increase your appetite, and a lot of times I just ignored it. And so I didn't know that's what it was, but now I recognize it. And so I'm now pregnant with our second child and everything is magnified when you're pregnant, but I've especially that particular symptom is like times 100. So if I have overtrained a day, during this pregnancy, I'm extremely hungry. Like ravenous, you know, and the same thing with fatigue. If I've overtrained, I'm like sore for longer. I can't recover as fast. I'm very, very tired.
Yeah, it's really important to pay attention to those things and not just ignore them.
Right.
Right?
Like you
Because
just
in the
think,
long run, it's not going to do anything good.
yeah, we just think like push harder, do more, you know, and that's not the case. Like sometimes you just need to sit still and hear what your body is saying.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much. That was so much fun. Is there anything you want to add that I didn't maybe ask? You want to add something?
And I think we covered a lot of ground today. You know, just to kind of bring it all together, I just implore people, like there's only one of you, there's only one of me, there's only one of my daughter, my husband, and you know, like yes, overall things work, like drinking more water and eating more green vegetables. Like yes, those things can be applied to all of us. However, our bodies respond differently. And when you are constantly looking for outside guidance and approval, there's nothing wrong with taking that information in and thinking about it, but your body is the smartest tool that we own. You know, it's like such an amazing tool that we have. And I just implore people to listen to their body and above everything else, because it knows best. At the end of the day, it will tell you exactly what you need to know. You just have to listen to it. So,
right. Yeah, that's true, because nobody else can ever really know what's going on with our bodies, right?
Right.
So many people in so many diets, and yeah, like you said, it's just, you can take and try things out, but also know when they don't work and then just stop doing them.
Right. And take bits and pieces,
Mhm.
like I've got a couple clients who love keto and that works for them. And I've got another client who's on like a whole foods diet. And I have one that loves counting macros, and that's fine. It's just, they're all different people and they've taken bits and pieces through this process, but it's just, you can't just do it overnight. It's a process.
Exactly.
It's
Yes,
all,
take some
never
patience.
stop learning. And our bodies change as we get older too and go through
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
So,
totally.
yeah.
All right. So before we finish, tell us where we can find you.
So my website is www.itrain4life.com. And you can find me on Instagram at _ train for life and then _ at the
Awesome.
back end of
Thank
that.
you. Everybody, let's go ahead and check out Jenny's work. And thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you so
on.
much for having me. This is awesome.
All right. Okay, thank you and bye-bye.